and welcome to the Awaken Feminine podcast live. We have the beautiful Rebecca Wiener McGregor today. She is a soul sister of mine, but we'll go into that a bit more. She is a hypnotist, trauma healer, and abundance coach who works with transformational leaders to release anxiety and limitations in 90 days or less so they can create a new financial reality for themselves by sharing their gifts. Woohoo! Welcome, Rebecca.
Hi, 𝐞𝐜𝐚. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here. It's been a while. I did
Me
find
too.
out when you last came on, and it was 2021 November.
Oh wow. It doesn't feel that long, but it feels that long at the same time.
It's so crazy how fast and how slow time goes by at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
So you have answered this question before, but I mean, it's like 2.5 years ago. So I'm going to ask you again. What is your current definition of the awakened feminine?
The awakened feminine is balanced, passionate, full of self-trust and courage and bravery and magnetic and willing to speak her truth, whatever that truth may be.
Yeah, I love that.
And so much more. It's like the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm sure when we have our conversation that everything that is the awakened feminine within you will flow through. So we are talking about the transformative power of releasing anxiety and opening the channel to receive today. Can you share with us, one, why this is such an important topic that you actually wanted to call the podcast episode this? And what is your experience with this transformation?
The reason it's so important, and anxiety, you can fill in the blank. Anxiety can be a variable. You can say it's stuckness, overwhelm. It could be depression, sadness, grief coming from missed opportunities or even missing people in your life. And it can be just a feeling like you can't get the traction that you want. And it'll show up as anxiety in your body or in your mind. And all of our emotions coming from fear or coming from love, when we are operating from a place of anxiety or stuckness or frustration or anger or any of the things I mentioned, then we're not fully engaged in love and in our creativity. And when we can take the opportunities to release all the gunk, the channel opens up and we can be in our full creativity. We can receive inspiration. We can create ideas. We can see solutions in a different way. We can see our path in a different way. We can allow ideas to come through and blossom and turn into something really magical. And we can trust and honor all that's coming through us as something that is here for our experience, for us to grow, and for us to use either as the big idea or as a stepping stone to the big idea, the next big idea.
I love how you mention what anxiety actually looks like for different people, because most people, when they think of anxiety, is just, feeling that feeling of anxiousness. But you were talking that it can come out as overwhelm, anger, a whole lot of other things. And it just reminded me of my anxiousness coming out in those different ways. And I wouldn't have recognized this actually my anxiety but rather that I'm just angry all the time, or I'm just, overwhelmed with the amount of stuff that I need to do, but not realizing that is part of anxiety. Can you share with us, like, the people that you work with, what are the most common, like, traits of anxiety that you see, and then maybe talk a bit more about the releasing of anxiety, how we can start releasing it from our bodies, from our mind, from our spirit.
Yeah. Okay. So the traits of anxiety are I'm over committed, I'm overdoing. I often see people who are pushing themselves so hard, thinking that if I just push myself harder, this feeling will go away. I'll feel better about myself and this feeling will go away. They are super high achievers very often. Most of the people that I work with are wildly high achievers. And I speak of this as a person who had anxiety myself and healed it with hypnosis. And so being passionate and then wanting to go toward that goal, wanting to move toward that goal, and something internally is stopping. And it may be physical symptoms that are coming up, like heart racing without any other reason, tension on the shoulders, flooded mind with tons of thoughts all the time, waking up in the middle of the night with lots of things racing through the mind. Generally just feeling edgy or unsettled, or a lot of people will just say, I feel anxious, and they can't even always describe what that is, but it's tightness or heaviness or kind of a revved up feeling, and not in the good way, revved up in the body. And most of the people that I work with are late 30s, 40s plus, and the anxiety has been building and building and building. It's been there often in small ways, but they used it as motivation. They used it to help push them through different experiences. It was the fuel for their drive, but they've reached a point where I know this can be easier. Yeah, there has to be an easier way for me to experience what I want to experience, speak the truth of my passion, trust myself more without this underlying static that is distracting them from their big vision, mission, and purpose. I saw you nodding.
Yes.
Like
I'm like,
you
you're
a
just
lot of us can
describing
relate
me.
to this.
No, everything. Like, you're talking about me. Oh, gosh.
It's
It's
common. A lot of us are dealing with this, quietly suffering, because it's not a fun thing to talk about. For some
yes, and
people,
I
it feels
don't.
really shameful to talk about.
Definitely, especially because we live in a society where the outward projection is so important, and
Hmm.
also most, like, all the traits you described, they're people all around me too. And while some
Hmm.
of them do have anxiety, like, have been diagnosed with anxiety, but others might just think, oh yeah, that's just normal, that's just part of life. So it's
Right.
so important to recognize that. And I love, that you were able to share with us all the different traits. And I'm going, oh yeah, tick, 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 which is sad, but also,
Yeah.
I mean, I recognize it because I've been working a lot with releasing it from my body. So I want to ask you, you did mention that, uh, people do get the tension and other bodily symptoms that might come up with anxiety.
Hmm.
I found for me, like, my brain seems to dissociate with my anxiety.
Mm.
So I
Yeah.
remember a long time ago, I was doing this, online quiz or something. And I was like, and it basically said, I'm so chilled out that I need to find something to do. And I'm like, oh, okay. Am I really that chilled out? But at the same time, I know my body. was holding all my anxiety. So there's this like dissociation between my brain and my body. Do you see that with
Yes.
your clients?
Yes, it's such, you said it so beautifully. And that's a common feeling, that we're numb. We become numb. We cut off communication between our head and our heart, and we just try to be in flow, but we're not really connected. So you said it so perfectly. And I really want to say something really important here. Most of my clients come to me, I would say 50-50, with a diagnosis of some kind, or um, newly diagnosed, or have felt feelings of anxiety throughout their life, or they've self-diagnosed because it's just, they're just agitated and they don't like that feeling. And frankly, I don't give a flying fig what we call it, because we don't have to identify, we don't have to label anybody that way, and we don't have to label ourselves. And I really want to operate throughout this conversation from a place of curiosity and exploration and collecting data, rather than, oh my gosh, this must mean I have anxiety and now I've screwed everything up because I have anxiety. That's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about how, if you're feeling this way, or if you notice these moments, then bringing in more love is going to be more helpful than bringing in more judgment. Because truthfully, anxiety is your subconscious mind constantly assessing where you are in your life, what you're doing, and judging it as safe or not safe.
Mm.
We don't need more judgment. We
No,
need more
we
love.
definitely don't. Yeah, and it's always all these labels that we put on ourselves. And when we put that label on, we go, yeah, I actually have all of that. And like you said, people go, oh, I've screwed myself out. But look at where your anxiety has taken you. You were talking about all the
Mm-hmm.
overachievers, the women that, are so passionate about their goals, and that's what was a drive. So it served a purpose, but you've got to the point where
Yes.
your mind, body, and spirit are like, okay, we need to just sort this thing out because it's no longer sustainable.
Right. Right. For
Yeah.
a lot of people, especially because I work with midlife Gen X people who are, it's kind of like that thing with adult onset allergies. They're not really adult onset. They just start to, it's the body can't push it down anymore. So it feels like all of a sudden my anxiety got really bad. And I'm using air quotes because I don't even like to identify as my anxiety. So the anxiety or the frustration or the anger just started to get worse and worse. And I thought it should get better and better. It's just that the body cannot push it down anymore. You can't dissociate from it like you used to be able to. You can't just push it in the closet or the junk drawer anymore. It wants out. And the other thing that's happening at this age is our spirit is really excited to be expressed and to express our next levels. And so the spirit is saying, okay, now's the time. Move this gunk out of the way so you can be who you're meant to be. So you can, I have goosebumps, so you can connect with who you're supposed to connect with, so you can live this dream that you have been called to in a bigger way. And it's not that you're doing anything wrong now or living too small now. It's just that part of you is longing for more. That's why there is this upset.
Yeah, I love that. It's basically your spirit trying to wake you up to more than just
Yeah.
that striving and that pushing that you've been doing throughout your whole life, which is a condition and a program that we've been fed as well. But I want to ask you,
Oh, yeah.
because this kept coming up. You said you had to overcome your, air quotes, anxiety. And I really would love for you to share your story so that people understand why you're so passionate and about this work, and why, you've kind of gone down this path to help other people to do the same.
Yeah. I love this story because I am a success story. And 20 years ago at this time, I was studying to become a hypnotist. Next month is my 20th anniversary of becoming a hypnotist. And We did. I know I can't even imagine 20 years. How is that even possible? Because I still feel 27 on the inside. So here we are 20 years later. And when I found hypnosis, or hypnosis really found me through some divine intervention, I was angry and anxious. Anger was a pattern of mine. It was how I kept people away. And I was hiding, and I was in a relationship that was not satisfying. I was hiding in a bad relationship, like a really not satisfying relationship at all, hiding from bigger, better, deeper commitments. And when I went to hypnosis training, I didn't even realize, because at that time I wasn't identifying what I was feeling as anxiety. I realized that later, of course, which is why the labels don't matter. Because when I went to training, I started focusing on healing the tension that was in my body and the tension that was on my chest and the racing thoughts that I had, and how we do that in hypnosis and how I do it. Not every hypnotist works like I do, but we go to the past experiences where those feelings have been present and honor and validate the feelings. And we do that in this beautiful state of focused concentration known as hypnosis. And we're in a level of hypnosis right now, even as we listen, even as we're in the zone here talking. And I just remember walking through those experiences, feeling my feelings and thinking about the young girl I was when that thing happened, and loving her so much and honoring her so much, and seeing her try so hard to get through these situations that she just had to figure it out. She just had to survive. There wasn't always the opportunity to feel the feelings, and there wasn't no one was teaching anybody how to feel feelings at that time. And sometimes nobody knew I was feeling the feelings I was feeling because I was young, didn't know how to express them, so nobody could help me with them. But as I validated myself, honored myself, the young person inside of me, those feelings peeled away. I was able to peel those feelings away, and I got in touch with who I really am at my core, and that's love and creativity. And I believe that's at the core of all of us. This loving being who is so creative and can create beautiful things out of nothing just by trusting themselves and moving in that direction. And I remember completing the training and wanting to tell everyone, you've got to do this. You've got to try this. I remember just the lightness in my body and how excited I felt, and like everywhere there were rainbows and it was sunny all the time. That's how my perception was coming out of that darkness and heaviness and really that hiding. And anxiety's been the focus of my practice for 20 years. And through that, I've learned so much from my beautiful clients about the different ways anxiety happens in the body, the different ways that it's expressed, and the different ways that it blocks us from having what we want, whether it is the deepest connection relationship with beautiful orgasmic intimacy, great friendships, really like tapping into the creativity for our businesses, and even allowing ourselves to have very large amounts of abundance, and abundance of everything: finances, joy, love, connection, health, and abundance in every area of our lives.
Mm.
I still can shout it from the rooftops 20 years later. I just love it so much.
And that's when you know you're on the right path.
Right.
Yeah, you wouldn't be doing
Yeah.
this still after 20 years if it wasn't still lighting you up like it does. So
Yeah.
it's beautiful
Yeah.
to see, and thank you so much for sharing your beautiful story. And, I mean, I love you, you know that. But, just learning more about your story, I was getting a bit teary as you talked about connecting with the younger version of you and acknowledging the feelings and what, everything that was going on, because I don't think enough people know about that, where we actually do need to honor all the things that we have felt but didn't allow ourselves to feel back then, so that we can move on. So yeah, thank you for that. I recently actually did something where I tapped into the younger version of myself to just help acknowledge her and thank her for, trying to keep me safe from, all my adult stuff, which, I was like, well, it's not
Right.
working. It's like, I think I need to connect with my younger me. And it was so beautiful. I just felt so much lighter after that. After that acknowledgement, it was just like, oh, okay, I can adult. I don't have my little person trying to run the show and trying to keep me safe. Yeah, and I love that you said at the core we are all love and creation, and I really truly, totally agree with that. As you were talking, you said that anxiety can keep us from the things that we desire, like the orgasmic, intimate relationship, friendships, success in business. Can you share a bit about how it actually stops us from getting those things that we want?
Sure. Absolutely. Anxiety, first and foremost, is a massive distraction because we have to check in, we have to check it all the time. For lots of people, we're assessing the body. How is the body feeling right now? How's the mind feeling? Oh my gosh, I have this feeling. I have to go into this meeting. I have to put this anxiety away. I have to get my crap together right now and go into this meeting and figure out what I've got to do because I want to be successful in my life or my business or my job, my profession, etc. And so when I say anxiety is a distraction, these physical responses, anybody who's listening who's ever dealt with anxious feelings, let alone them being chronic, can attest that it's like having a headache where you can't get rid of the headache. You can't compartmentalize the headache, but it's happening in your whole body because your feelings and your emotions and your energy are expressed throughout your whole body. So you're walking around carrying all this stuff on you. And it's a huge distraction, first of all. And then the roots of the anxiety, anger, frustration, etc., are rooted in experiences that we've had when we were children. The first level is up to 3 years old. So most of the patterns that the world is running on, we're adults with 3-year-old subconsciouses in our brain, in our bodies, right? Which is so crazy and so true, by the way, because we're all running patterns from there unless we've done the work to heal them. And still, even if we've released the anxiety, some of the patterns are still there. And then up to 8 years old, there's a huge chunk of beliefs and patterns that we've learned from other people that came into our awareness. Often people will say to me, well, there's anxiety in my family, so no wonder I have anxiety. Yeah, of course, you learned it by watching how the people that you love and respect respond to things. And that told your subconscious mind how to respond. It wasn't a conscious teaching. We're not blaming anybody. And it wasn't a conscious decision to learn that. But we're little sponges. And then if we have traumatic experiences happening throughout our lives, which everybody does, everybody's had moments of embarrassment or shame or loss or failure, massive failure, little failure, big T trauma or little T trauma, where many people don't even consider it trauma. That's just been peppered throughout our lives. And all of these experiences tell a story. They tell us a story. So imagine you witness something as a child and or something happens to you as a child. Say you're betrayed as a child. The story will be there. And the story about that experience may say, well, I must not be very valuable for someone to betray me in that way. Or I must not be worth very much for someone to betray me that way. Or maybe I have to be different or better for that to not happen again. So I'm going to start really being the best at everything I can do so they can't put me down. They can't betray me. They will see my value because of what I'm producing, who I take care of, how I handle everything, how I know everything. Lots of high achieving women know everything, right? Could probably write encyclopedias. And all of these things tell a story. They tell us a story constantly. So that anxiety is rooted in those stories, and those stories will come up and they will say, well, I know you have this beautiful vision board. I know you've mapped it out on Pinterest. I know you've visualized it a million times, but I'm not going to let you have it because of that story that you have from when you were 7 years old and that person betrayed you and you don't feel very worthy. I'm not going to let you have it. At least not the way that you want to. I'm going to give you a level of it that you'll feel like you can settle for and like you can handle it, and it'll be okay if I get this much. But there will always be that longing until that pattern is broken, until those experiences are healed and released. It's a lot. We're all kids just walking around in adult bodies trying to figure life out together. So we got to give each other a lot more grace.
No wonder the world is in the state that it is now.
Right.
So all these 3-year-olds throwing tantrums in adult bodies.
Literally. Yes.
Oh.
And telling stories.
Wow.
Our subconscious mind, desiring to stay safe, will start to tell stories about everybody else too. This is the only kind of partner that I qualify for with my story. So I'm going to have a partner that doesn't really respect me or honor me, and that can easily betray me because that's what I've grown to expect. Or I can only get this far in my business. I can only allow myself. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I can only get this far in my business. I can only allow myself this much success because that's the level I've decided I can handle. We can handle so much more. We're designed for more.
That is really like I'm imagining, like, you in a client session and they come to that realization, where they, the partner example, I think, is a big slap in the face. If you've, been with a partner who betrayed you, who treated you disrespectfully, and then you realize that you actually not called it in, but that is your level of expectation because that's all you knew. How profound and how like awakening that would be for your client in that moment, of, for anyone listening now that might really have that aha moment as well. Yeah.
And there's no space for judgment here. Please don't judge yourself. Look at it gently, kindly, lovingly, because you've always been doing the best that you could do. You've always been doing the best that you could do. And so judgment here is not beneficial. Just notice, like, oh, that's why it is the way it is. And if you're listening to the Awakened Feminine podcast, we know you want more out of your life. And that's why you're called to programs like this. That's why you're listening. That's why you're learning. And that's okay, because that's why you're here. You're here to learn these connections so that you can make the shifts, so that you can get the support, so that you can stretch yourself, so that you can notice your values and your stories and set better standards and live out those standards in a way that feels good to who you are now. Yes, I get on a rant, so I'll take a breath.
It's great. I love your rants. As you were talking, a few things came up. The first one being, okay, how does, so I think you kind of mentioned it, but maybe if you can go into a bit more detail. Like, I know you use hypnotherapy, but amongst other things. So can you talk about the tools that people can use to start releasing themselves from this, so-called anxiety from their lives. And how does, is hypnosis the main tool that you would use with your clients? Or is it, I mean, I know it depends on the client and all that, but that's your kind of
Yeah.
jam?
Hypnosis is my jam, sister.
Yeah.
And so yes, I can teach you ways to manage the anxiety. Like right here, right now, I can give you some tools.
Yeah.
One of them, a big one being forgiveness. A massive one being really looking at your life, forgiving yourself for those moments and allowing yourself to stretch and just take steps that you have never taken before. And you got to really push yourself. It's a little bit harder to do it on your own. Another tool that I always share is EFT, emotional freedom technique, tapping and really tapping into the experiences that you've had and doing the work through those. Hypnosis is the way to make it so to do it faster and to do it where you have someone guiding you and leading you and who is holding the vision for everything that you want, holding the belief that you can have everything that you want. So not only can we do it in a very fast amount of time, usually 90 days or less, we can also amplify your vision and magnetize your vision to you so much faster because you're not doing all the work yourself. Now, this is hard can be hard for high achieving women who are the lone wolf, who do everything by themselves, who take care of everything. It can be hard to let people in. It can be hard to think, oh my gosh, this person just wants to hold space for me, to love me, to let me feel my feelings, to cry, to ugly cry, to have massive realizations and have massive amounts of joy, and then create something really special. Yes, that's what I want to do for you. And sometimes we have to let ourselves be helped. We have to, we beg for solutions. And not everything is designed for you to do it all by yourself. In fact, part of the step of allowing expansion for a lot of the super high achievers that I work with is allowing themselves to be cared for in this way by someone else.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I can totally relate to that. And
yeah.
I think even if you're not a high achieving woman, or, you don't consider yourself to be a high achieving woman, I think women in general have such a hard time asking for help. It's just ridiculous to me why we find it so hard. It makes no sense.
It makes no sense, but when you look at the roots of all of it, helping is an easy value. It's an easy value to take on, being a helper, being a hero, taking care of lots of people, doing it really well, developing your empathy so you can always check in on how people are feeling so that you can always measure how you're going to behave and adapt to the situation. That's one of the things that's ingrained in women is being the helper, being the place of comfort, being the kin keeper, being the mental load carrier. That's how many women show their value in their families from a young age as being helpful.
Yeah.
So how do we break that barrier, right? Which is how I know someone's all in. If they are ready and they ask for help, that's how I know it's time for them. That's how I know I can help them, partner with them to co-create phenomenal results because it's their turn to be helped.
I love that you mentioned that because, like you said, women tend to be the nurturers, the giver, the helper. And until we are ready, like you say, we still won't allow someone else to help us. We still want to be in that savior mode so that, we can help everyone and, be the good person, etc., etc. So I love that you mentioned that until you are ready, you're not really going to accept help even if it was offered to you on a silver platter.
Right. It really has, like, the biggest changes that I've noticed with clients are when they really have to make it an investment of their time, resources, and effort in themselves. They have to tie it to themselves still to
Yeah.
let the first steps be taken and to gain the momentum to let all the other amazing stuff happen to them. And for many people, for many women, there is just even from such a young age, the way that we produce, the way that we help, the way that we take care of things is the way that we keep ourselves in the family, the way that we avoid rejection, the way we avoid getting voted off the island and abandoned. And I'm talking about at very, very, very primal level. These are our fears, because if we're rejected, our subconscious mind believes that that is the most unsafe thing that we can do. So proving ourselves over and over and over, even to strangers on the street, is the safest thing when we're in that habit. Yeah.
This kind of popped into my head as you were talking. Do you find that these overachieving women that are always, wanting to prove themselves have a hard time connecting with other women because they're always like, well, I need to prove myself. And then, it's kind of like a competition of proving yourself. So there's also, when you're in that proving yourself, or this is my thoughts, you're kind of in that fear, like, what if someone's better than me because I'm the high achiever here? So it's really hard to connect with people when you're in that competition. Do you find that they have problem connecting with in friendships or even relationships?
Yeah, that can be a real thing, especially because for many of them, they've achieved in areas where it's largely been men achieving. So the spaces for women to achieve are few and far between. So they've had to really fight their way to get to where they are, and they had to be in competition with other women to get those spots, which is a real bugger, because women are designed to be doing what we're doing now, to connect and to create together and vibe together. We actually suffer when we are split apart, when we are in competition. We suffer individually, and the collective suffers when women are divided. So let's have some collaboration over competition and create space for win-wins where we can both win. There's plenty for all of us. Let's live in a space of abundance and not lack, where everybody can win, everybody can thrive, not just the few chosen, air quotes chosen.
Yeah. Can you share with us, for people that don't really know what hypnosis is, like what it actually is or how it works, or what a typical, like, how long usually is your sessions? I know it can be different for other people, and like maybe like kind of like a process of what it looks like. Yeah.
Yeah. So for most people that I work with, we start with a VIP day if they can have that in their schedule, and that means we spend a day together, and we come together and create a plan for our time, and we talk about goals. We talk about the vision for their future, because I always want to know what the vision is so I can help amplify it. And we talk about the things that they think have been holding them back. We talk about the physical symptoms they've been having in their body from everything. And I mean, like, if you've had shingles, I need to know that, because that's a nervous system response, right? If you get headaches, that kind of thing, I love to know all of that stuff. If you grind your teeth at night, these are all indications of different things that are happening in the nervous system. And then we have a little break, of course. And then when we come together for hypnosis is a really funny looking word for deep focused concentration. And when we do hypnosis, it's so funny even just to say when we do hypnosis, when we start trance, I don't even really like that word because I feel like it just sounds like a weird movie or something. But and that's my own gunk. So other hypnotists listening and you use the word trance, it's all good. We all have our own stuff, right? But when we get into hypnosis, I invite people to close their eyes and then we relax the physical body. And what happens when we close our eyes is that we shut off all the visual stimuli around us and we focus inward. And when we get in that relaxed, focused state and we're focused inward, our brain waves change. And we then are accessing the subconscious mind. So I use a light state of hypnosis, which is alpha and moves into theta at times. But from this place, we can be present to what's happening, keep ourselves safe. Our observer self is always keeping us safe. And then we can also access past experiences. We can access the blocks. We can look at the blocks. We can access the experiences that cause the feelings. And the first step really for most of my clients is to look at the past experiences and to do the honoring and validating that we talked about earlier, and to express feelings that maybe they weren't able to, allowed to, or had time to feel in the first place. And then from that place, we balance the emotions in the body and we acknowledge where the body is feeling emotions, which is the entire body. Our emotions just aren't in our brain, they're in our whole body. And then I do lots of forgiveness work where the person is forgiving themselves and forgiving the circumstance, not necessarily the old way or the traditional religious way of forgiving people where it's forgive to give them a gift. It's really unchaining themselves from the experience and the people and the circumstances that cause the pain, and adding a lot of self-love. We do a lot of work with the inner child or the version of you at age whatever the situations have happened to you. And we speak to the different parts of you that are holding these different characteristics, these different beliefs, these different stories and programs. And we integrate. We help the part of you that's stuck in 1997 from that thing that happened recognize that it's 2024 and they don't have to hold on, white knuckle it anymore because that situation isn't happening anymore. We invite them to notice how safe they are in this present moment. So I usually work with people once the trauma is complete so we can help the body recalibrate to safety. And then, they're all my favorite parts, but I love then moving into let's embody the vision. Let's be the version of you right now that you will need to be in order to have the things that you want. So our work takes a beautiful spiritual experience where we access all the best parts of themselves, bring those forward. We connect to their higher self and the parts of them that need to be amplified now in order for them to have what they want. So we've neutralized lots of stuff. We've released lots of gunk. And then we get to amplify all of the amazing parts of them that they already are, they already have, that are already present. We get to amplify the confidence in a whole new way. The deep self-trust, the no more second guessing. Like, I'm so certain about every decision or most decisions. I don't really like to speak in absolutes, but in most places, the confidence, the connection, the safety, knowing that I can trust myself and that is the foundation of trust in every other experience I'm having, that I can have the abundance that I want, that I can be a way shower for other people, that I can help them experience healing or changing or shifting or becoming who they are going to be. Lots of the people that I work with are transformational leaders themselves. And that's just the first day. It's really amazing what we can do in a day And then usually, when we work together over a period of time, we have regular sessions that continue releasing, pulling at those threads. It's just the remaining threads of things that are bits of anxiety, frustration, etc. And then really helping them be in the habit of being the person they want to be over and over. And then we help them, we work together to really connect to their values, to really notice who it is that they are and what up levels do they want, what upgrades do they want. So maybe I'll invite them to stop being so much on the defense by having a bunch of boundaries, but stepping into having standards, which are a matter of fact. This is simply the way it is in my life. And to operate from the understanding that this is how it's going to be going forward, because I get to decide how I'm treated. I get to decide how I treat others. I get to decide how my business is, how my relationships are. And I get to be able to speak my truth with my partner or potential partner or my clients or different deals that I'm in with my business as well.
I love that. The whole process sounds so beautiful and so impactful on, your client's life. Do you ever get people that can't get into that relaxed state? Because, I'm just thinking of a friend I know who went to do a hypnosis session and she's like, I just couldn't.
Sure. Well, usually by the time we get to that place, everybody's ready. It's like I've asked them enough questions. They're like, okay, Rebecca, let's do this. So the number one thing that needs to be available here is the willingness to do it. And along with that, right at the top, they have to be able to trust their partner, the hypnotist that they're working with. Just like you would trust, you wouldn't go very long to a therapist that didn't feel good to you, or an acupuncturist that didn't feel good to you, or a coach. You would sever those ties pretty quickly. By the time we get to this place, we know and trust each other. And we've made commitments to each other that we're going to lock arms and we're going to get through this, whatever it is that we need to get to. And we're going to meet we're going to walk through it together and get to the vision. So there are layers of commitment that are happening. And that is not anything that I take lightly. I think that's why I've never had an issue with anybody being able to get into hypnosis, is because we walk through these layers of trust together, and they know that I am committed to their vision, that I'm committed to their safety, that I am committed to their healing, and that I have in no way, shape, or form any judgment. That's a thing. If you don't trust the person, the thing that you don't trust is that they're going to judge you. And that they might betray you. So there is a judgment there, right? So by the time we get to hypnosis, and as we continue, of course, everything deepens, trust builds, and it all gets deeper and deeper over time. But because I have specialized in panic and anxiety and these kinds of things, I've really sharpened the way to getting there so much easier than they think. And they begin to trust themselves so much because of that first experience in hypnosis.
I love that. I love that you brought up how important it is to build that trust. And I'm just thinking of the friend that I had who couldn't get into that state is because there was that lack of trust. It was, I think, I don't know. I know here, there are psychologists who, might just, because your process sounds like, you'd spend a very decent amount of time with them before you even go into the hypnosis. Whereas I think a lot of times when you go see a psychologist, you might just know them for like that 5 minutes and like, okay, right, we're going to take you, we're
Right.
going to hypnotize you now. And you're like, whoa, hang on a minute. We just
Right.
spoke for like 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I don't feel safe. So I just love how you brought that up, because that trust is so important. And the whole
Yeah.
thing about, choosing the right person for you. I can't stress that
Mm-hmm.
enough. I have worked with coaches and mentors where I'm like, okay, I think that's not right. But I mean, at that time, I just kept going because I didn't know any better. But now I can discern whether someone is right for me or not. So it's so
Yeah.
important to get the right person for you. I know there are people in the audience, so I'm going to open up for questions. So if anyone has a question
Okay.
and you're in the studio, you can type it in the message box, or if you want to call in live, please do. But Rebecca and I will keep talking, as the questions come in, so then we can answer them, or if there's no questions, that's cool. We'll just keep going with our conversation. Let me just check Facebook and LinkedIn. Okay. All right, cool. So yeah, if anyone has questions, pop them in the chat. Otherwise, we're just gonna keep going. Now we
Okay.
talked a lot about what anxiety presents as, what it looks like, your journey. We talked about really how to help release it and what it looks like working with you. Let's talk about opening that channel, because we haven't got there yet. We talked
Yeah.
about all the stuff, but what about the good stuff? What comes out when we
Yes.
do all the work? Can you share a bit about that part of it?
Yeah. This is the fun result. Like it's the result of the result, right? You release the anxiety, you're already operating at, I mean, most of the people that I work with are operating from a very creative place. They've started businesses, they've written books, they've written screenplays, and have started businesses and have channeled their legacy work and all of that. So from this place, it gets to be so much easier. So once we've released the anxiety, just imagine, um, I always imagine the creative channel as like this beautiful amethyst sparkly lined tunnel, and imagining anxiety and frustration and any of these old beliefs are like gunk on the walls, just like dulling the sparkle, clogging up the flow. And as we release those things, then what happens is we trust ourselves so much more. We trust our intuition. We trust our creative flow. And those things are not small. They're small words, right? They're words we hear all the time: creativity and intuition. But these are guiding forces. And when we release all the things that tell us not to trust ourselves as much, or not to believe in ourselves, or not allow in a certain level of success, we can tap into the creativity that is available to us all the time. We are creative beings. Everything that we have came from nothing. Everything that we put into our businesses, it came from an empty piece of paper, an empty screen, and we filled it in. And really acknowledging that, celebrating that, loving that, and trusting that, and then listening to our inner guidance and letting the ideas flow through, whether they are coming from past experiences or they are inspiration from the divine. We get to hear them better because we don't have this staticky interruption of the frustration, the anxiety, these words that I keep saying that don't really mean anything, except that they are bothersome. They're like the gnat that won't go away on the picnic, right? And when you get the gnat to go away, the picnic is so much more enjoyable. The creativity is so much more enjoyable, and you feel so much more free. And most of the people I work with, they come to me with a desire for freedom, freedom to be able to take their business to the next level, freedom to welcome in more abundance, freedom to be who they are, to express their the depths of their knowledge and understanding and be the authority of their gifts and magnetize to them the life that they want. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about opening the channel. It's like, let's get this party started even better. Like, let's ramp it all up and let it be more joyful, more fun. Please, more fun. We all need more fun, more creative, and all of that being not pushed, not trying to have fun, not trying to be creative, but allowing it opened up to be able to receive more of it. See, it's all rants with me, Cocky. I love this stuff. I could talk about it for days.
I love your rants. That's what makes it so great. I love it when I can feel the passion. You know, you have so much passion with what you do and the outcomes that you can provide for your clients. So yeah, it's going to come out as a rant. Well, I don't really call it, I don't think it's really a rant. It's just more like a passionate expression.
Yes. And I'm just being playful with the rant, but it is
I know.
passion. It is the fire that lights me every single day. So when we talked about what are we going to talk about during this episode, it's so easy to talk about this. The fire is here. And I know that we're not the only ones who feel this way. There are many listeners who have been waiting for this conversation.
Yeah. And I've loved our conversation. I'm looking at the time, so I'm going to start wrapping up. This is the second, maybe second or third last question, but this one really is, you know, we've talked about, we actually have spent the entire time talking about your topic, which is great because a lot of times I might go off topic. Can you go down this rabbit hole instead? But I'm very proud of myself for keeping on topic, and I think it helps
very good.
You know. What is your, you know, after talking for nearly an hour together, what is your take-home message for our audience from today's conversation? Or it could be something else that you feel really passionate about that you want our audience to take home with them.
I am absolutely passionate about people, and I live this. So this is important, amplifying love in their lives. And the simplest way to do that is to release judgment. So whether you are feeling like you are on the edge of a freaking breakthrough and you just know it's coming, or you just can't quite get the traction, please, please, please stop judging yourself. Or if you are riding through your life and you are on top of the world and you just have these moments where you're like, God, am I doing this right? Just stop judging yourself and enjoy it. Just release all the judgment of yourself, and please, let's release judgment of each other, because we're all, as the beautiful Ram Dass says, we're all just walking each other home. We're all just experiencing each other as teachers, and a lot less judgment and a lot more love is really my message, my driving force.
That's such a beautiful take-home message. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, I've just had so much fun for, you know, having you back on my podcast and just listening to you share. It's just been so beautiful. I know you have something special for our audience as well. So if you don't mind sharing that, that'd be amazing.
Yes. So I wrote a book in 2021 called Loving Her. And I'm just for the people who are watching, it is 10 loving standards to call forward the wealthy woman inside of you. And I'm giving everybody a digital copy. Just go to lovingherbook.com and you'll exchange the email and you'll get a copy along with some other fun treats as well. And it's all about really releasing these old stories and stepping into that wealthy woman, and wealthy by your own definition version of yourself.
I love that. That sounds such an amazing book to read. Okay, so if people are listening, well, not that if they're listening, they're already listening. So for the audience, I'm just like going off on a tangent. For our audience who have been listening and go, oh, I love what Rebecca's all about. I want to find out more about her. Where is the best place to find you or connect with you?
They can find me on my personal profile or my business profile on Facebook. That's where I'm most active. I'm on lots of other places too. Send me a DM there. You can go to RebeccaWiener.com. I before E, especially in Wiener, RebeccaWiener.com or healwithhypnosis.com are where you can connect with me. I know you'd love that. And yeah, reach out with questions. If you want just wanting some direction or you want to have a conversation about what it would be like to work together, I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
Mm. Thank you so much, Rebecca. If anyone's catching the replay of the live streams and you've got questions, you can pop them in the comments and Rebecca or myself can also answer there. Or, if you're listening later on and you're on Apple, Spotify, the other channels, come find the Awaken Feminine podcast in Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and you can ask questions there as well. So you're always welcome to ask questions after the streams and after the podcast episode's actually out. So thank you so much, Rebecca, for coming back and spending this beautiful time with me. I love you so much.
Oh, thank you, 𝐞𝐜𝐚. I love being with you. I love your energy and I love what you're sharing on your podcast. Such a powerful message. I appreciate everything you're doing in this world. Thank you for being you.
Thank you.